Hey, what's good, everybody? I just wanted to make this video before I didn't, like I said in the other one. So I wanted to tell you guys like how to understand and finding your purpose, right? So for me, it took a long time, but I had already been shown. It's just you forget right over time, but it's like you already know. So for me, I figured it out at one point. Obviously, right? Like I'm a messenger, right? Everything in this incarnation, they kind of set it up so it would be obvious. But sometimes we still forget, right? We want to know, like, oh, what's our purpose? And we get lost looking for something so huge that we forget. Like, it's not that complicated because it's already embedded into this existence, right? And we have choices, right? You could choose, oh, I want to do this. I don't want to do this. So for me, obviously, right? Like, I'm a Gemini, right? So I couldn't help it but communicate, right? And I started following all the things that a lot of Geminis do, right? I would write stuff. I would um, music. I made so many songs. I mean, even the ones I didn't release, I wrote like over 1,000 songs. Um, anything with writing, I did good in school. You know what I mean? Reading. I tested out of like the reading stuff in college, like because all that stuff I already understood by the time I went there, right? Like I already, and all that stuff. So, um, all that stuff, even with friends, right? Sometimes I wouldn't talk to people for a long time, and I would always be the one to reach out, right? At some point or another, I'd hit up someone or go looking for them, like, hey, what's up? I didn't have that ego, like, oh, I'll wait till they call me or what haven't they come. I would just reach out to people. It was like it's natural for me, right? To always be like, you know, or even that. Sometimes I would hear someone gossip about something, like, oh, so and so said something about you, and I'd call them instantly. And I used to think it was that I was a confrontational person, but it wasn't that. It was just I wanted to get to the root of the problem. Why listen to someone's gossip when you could just cut out the middleman and go straight to the source? So I would call people up, be like, hey, were you, talking crap about me or something? Oh, no, or something like that. So I would do that a lot, right? Uh, and then it got even deeper as I got more, connected spiritually, um, which was always like kind of my destiny, I guess. They had embedded it, like my first tattoo I got was like, it's like this shield representing me, right? Has all these cracks. So at that point, I had already been through all these things in life. And on one side was an angel, on the other one a demon. If you want to call them that, let's just say, yeah, whatever, like a being that wasn't an angel, right? And they're both holding me up. And I remember I used to say that in my head, like, between demons and angels, there you will find me, like, because somehow I was this middleman, right? Um, and it became that with a lot of things, right? Like people, even between ethnicities, right? Like brown and white, brown and black, um, with the Asians and brown, like different people that wouldn't normally get along. I somehow, you know, would be able to explain things to people. Um, I remember once this black guy was, I don't know why he picked me, right? Like they come to you, right? It was like, he's like, oh, I dated this Mexican girl, and then we stopped because, oh yeah, I could tell there was something, so I started digging around, like, okay, what's the real problem? Because they were like, how come Mexican people don't like black people? And I was like, hey, one of my closest friends in growing up was black, so I don't know what the hell. Like, I understand what your experience, but doesn't mean that it's true all around, right? And so it's I was dating, this. Then it came out, right? I was dating this Mexican girl, and then her dad, didn't like me, so we stopped because of that. And I was like, so, and I explained to him that in Mexico, like the racism, like my uncle, dark skinned native, like his roots are, Yaqui, right? So he had a lot of that blood, right? Probably that was the majority. I mean, if he was mixed with something, uh, the majority of his blood was Yaqui, right? So he was a dark skinned man, right? And so he explained, all the racism that he experienced, because in Mexico that was a derogatory term, right? Indian was a derogatory term, or is still, right? Like when you call someone, este Indio. It isn't, like, I think the people are waking up, like, taking more pride in their indigenous roots now. But at that point, like when he was growing up, he would get that. Like that was a derogatory thing. Like nothing worse. You can't call someone nothing worse than an Indio, right? Like a native Indian, right? And so even at one point, the Mexican government had like 1,000 Yaquis murdered to appease, white settlers to come right there, right? To come buy land and all this and that, or invest in businesses. So, I explained to him, like, yeah, even you see the news, like, all the reporters were, like, light-skinned or something. Until now, I think they sprinkle a little here and there just to try to seem politically correct. But you saw it, right? All the things, like, everybody, or in novelas, they get, like, someone Spanish, but from Spain that was more light-skinned, that spoke Spanish, to play, like, Mexican or different things like that, right? So they've always done that, right? So I explained to him, like, yeah, even there, like, and he's like, you know what, like, nothing's ever made sense but that. And that gave him some kind of closure where he didn't take it personal. Now he just understood. I guess he thought this was the only place that it's like, here, dark-skinned people are in the U.S., like, obviously, right, there's been all the racism forever. So he thought it was only here, you know what I mean? When we, I explained, once I explained that to him, it gave him that closure. Because I guess no one had ever actually taken the time to explain to him, like, dude, there's racism in our own country against darker skinned people. What makes you think, like, someone's dad that probably has that, obviously he must have that, like, so, you like, not that there aren't, like, dark people in Mexico, there's a lot of native people that are just as dark as black people, like, but, obviously, right, like, it's even a darker shade of, brown or black, however you want to call it, right? So I was like, yeah, of course, like, it would make sense if he has that kind of, brainwashing or whatever, then the dad wasn't gonna like you no matter what, really. And all that. I've always been like a go-between, even spiritually, right? Like, there's been a few times, like, I've been able to explain, like, between, like, Christianity and native. Like, for the most part, it seemed like a lost cause, but I just try to explain to them, like, to respect it, right? Like, because when, for example, like, Christians would be trying to, like, convert natives, and I explained to them, that's like, someone rapes your daughter and you make her marry her rapist. Like, how do you don't understand the traumas that were caused by religion? Like, people were good before the religions came here. Were there tribes that had warfare and this? Yeah, of course. So was there in Europe, and all the Christian, hello, like, look at all the people that were murdered and all this stuff in the name of religion. So but a lot of tribes did live in peace and this and that. So why in the hell would they ever need? There was this old man that I think was in Washington, and they even took him to court because, I don't know, I forgot what happened, and they were trying to sell him the whole heaven thing, and he's all, well, you're describing, don't you want to go to heaven when you die? And he's like, you're describing my backyard. Like, what are you talking about? Like, before you guys came and all this, like, heaven is my backyard. All this stuff, don't you want to see this and that? That's my backyard. So he was able, and then I think the judge ruled in, I don't know, there was some kind of court thing going on. It's in this book by Vine Deloria, right? Vine Deloria Jr., if you guys know who he is. So I love that story because that's kind of how it was, or even when they killed oh man, I forgot if he was an Inca chief or an Aztec Empire. I think it was an Aztec Empire. Where they told them, don't, if you confess to Jesus or something, like, you'll go to heaven. And then he asked, like, is there Christians in heaven? And they're like, yeah, of course. Are there Spaniards in heaven? And they're like, yeah, of course. And he's all, then I'd rather go to hell. You know what I mean? Because that's kind of how people don't realize those traumas. And so that's why I try to explain, don't ever, if someone does it on their own volition, let them. But don't you ever think that you're doing someone a favor, like, by doing that. And some of them got it, some of them don't, because it's just the brainwashing is so strong, right? uh, they'll never grasp that concept. Like people that are in touch with their indigenous and live in peace with the earth and this, like we have no, um, and I spend a lot of time around that world, so I understand, I respect it, but not the religions, more like the teachings, right? Like the Bible, since I studied it myself, that's why I could never be convinced to join a religion or cult, um, because I saw the truth, right? Once you see the truth, and you're like, yeah, these religions, like, not even Jesus will be in line with them. So there's no, like, you guys, what did you do? Like, what is all this that you created? These things, these really like huge cults, right? So I would rather ride, if I was gonna ride with someone, I'd rather ride with Jesus and his actual teachings than these things that happen, these religions that were just spread all this hate and murder, right? So anyways, even with that, right, I don't want to make this too long, but I'm trying to explain the purpose. So anyways, I found out that later, I was born in I was born in TJ, which happens to be connect two worlds, right? uh and then they brought me pretty young, and I ended up living in the city called Southgate. So it was funny because I came in through the South Gate, right, coming into here through the south. Then I ended up growing up in the city called La Puente, which is literally Bridgetown. It's a bridge, right? Bridgetown. La Puente, and it's spelled correct, because really it'd be El Puente, not La Puente. But, whatever, whoever named it, it's El Puente, but it's La Puente, right? That's what the city's called. But it tried, like, I think even gang members they were calling it Bridgetown. But I also seen like a rap group that called themselves Bridgetown or something, or made an album like that. And so then it took me till later, right after I got the tattoo, after I had already noticed kind of my role in trying to explain things to people, and then my connection with the spirit world, so bringing messages, because a lot of times I would dream about people, call and be like, hey, I had this dream about you, that this, so obviously it was a message for you, and they'd receive it. They'll be, yeah, I went through all that, da, 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 da. So then I became that, right, like a messenger between you know the creator, the Mother Earth, or whatever this connection is that I have, right? Like, star people, different messages that I've been able to bring, and I'll continue doing, right, until I go. And so I started understanding my purpose. Did at one point I want to be like, a big rap star, and yeah, of course, but I don't think like, maybe I could have at some point, but I don't think I would have gotten in touch with the spiritual walk that I've gotten. So I think everything happened how it was supposed to. It was helping me communicate, like learning to write songs, and I didn't really hold nothing back. So there's some songs that I was like, how did I write that? Like, it was so angry, so you know I don't know if you want to call it toxic, because I know it had a purpose. It was like, because I felt that at some point there's someone that like me, right? When I connected, like I think in some way Tupac was the one that made me really open the Bible. He had this tattoo, and I was so curious. I opened it, I started reading, and then I think that's how it kind of started. And so here's this guy that drew me in with his Thug Life songs, because that's what I was going through in that age. And he kind of led me through that. And then, different stuff like that takes you on your path. So it doesn't, maybe these songs that are so full of rage and anger that I did connect with someone, then they hear another thing, and then they're hearing my spiritual stuff. And so no one knows how the divine, but we do have choices. There were songs that I knew were so bad that I didn't release, because I was like, I don't want to have that someone listening to this, and even though everyone makes their own choice, still I didn't want someone to listen to some of these songs that were extra aggressive, and I feel like I contributed to them doing something, because it is, music does get stuck in your head, and anyone that does music knows that, right? So damn, how long is this? Oh, okay, not that super long, but yeah, I think I'll cut it there. So to sum it all up, you'll find that there's been already indicators, markers since your birth, that kind of show what your purpose is going to be. Even if it takes a turn, oh, I never expected to do this, in some way or form, there was something that led you to that kind of already had that, right? Like, there was something there. Maybe you'll remember, oh, well, yeah, when I was a child, this or that, or there's something in there that's already, right, like encoded and stuff, that'll teach you to understand. So, I know that now, like, that's my purpose, to be, like, kind of in between, right? I'm not trying to be like how people call themselves gods here and this and that. I even did that at one point, but it wasn't so much for me. It was like I understood. Like at one point, I started using the alias like God of War, but it wasn't so much me. It was like how in the Bible it talks about Jesus coming back with a sword. So it was like that, like God coming back as a war on injustice. Like it took me a long time to figure it out, but it was like God of War, because there's a war now, like to balance the scale, to like enough with all the bad stuff that's been going on, then balances this power struggle, right? So I kind of took it like that, but still, that was like this, all this stuff, right? I could go on forever. So just that, no, it's all embedded in there. Uh, the biggest opposition you're gonna face is yourself. You're gonna have doubts. You're gonna this. You're gonna that. You have to walk with blind faith. Once you figure out your purpose, you're gonna have to walk with blind faith, because at first it's almost gonna seem like, nah, I wasn't supposed to do this. But then you'll get little confirmations that, yeah, you're on the right path. You gotta ask for them sometimes. Be like, man, let me know I'm on the right path. Give a little prayer. It doesn't have to be all crazy. Just that. Oh, please let me know I'm on the right path. I feel lost. I feel this, that, and they'll show you, right. And so I think with that, I should be done, right? Okay. Hope you guys are well. Hope this helped in some way. And all right, peace.